Good afternoon, Trinidad and Tobago. I'm Karen Cozier-Phillips. C-News is live at noon. Topping the news at this time, the Judicial and Legal Service Commission says it is in the process of updating all its annual reports, and this will be completed before the 1st of October 2017. In a statement, the JLSC said it acknowledged that the annual reports in respect to the years 2008 through 2015 are outstanding. The JLSC said the omission was in fact brought to its attention by the Service Commissions Department, which provides the Secretariat to assist all service commissions in preparation of reports, while the department was preparing the 2016 annual report in keeping with the provisions of Section 66C, Section 2 of the Constitution. The JLSC apologized to the Office of the President for the omission and wishes to assure that no disrespect was intended to His Excellency or to the Office of the President. Earlier this week, it was revealed that the JLSC had not submitted any reports to the Parliament since 2008. Further news now, CL Financial shareholders will get the opportunities to submit documents to the High Court to stop the government from winding up the company. According to Chairman of the CLECO Policyholders Group, Peter Permel, on Wednesday, the High Court gave them the date as August 4th for the submissions to be made.
On the other side, the state has to reply by the 11th of August, and then the matter is going to be heard somewhere around either the 4th or the 11th of September, subject to the availability of the senior counsel. CL Financial shareholders are going to submit their documentation, let's call it documentation, in support of their position. They will submit that they have to submit that by the 4th of August.
A provisional liquidator was appointed by the state to preserve the assets of CL Financial following a court appeal ruling on Tuesday. Mr. Permel explained this simply means the liquidator will freeze the assets of the company until there is a ruling on this case. The shareholders went to court as they said winding up the company will not be in the best interest of the people.
It's not going to be good news for us, because if the assets are sold at a fire sale, then there will not be sufficient resources left to pay us any money. And that is where we come into the picture. So the shareholders are saying we want to pay you all whatever is contractually due to you all from CLECO. And the government is saying we are not going to pay you all any more money that is due to you from CLECO, because as far as we can say, you sold your policies, you sold your rights in your policies.
Meanwhile, the Minister of Finance is reported as saying there is no chance of a fire sale of the assets of CL Financial. According to a newspaper article today, the minister also assured there was no chance of this mysterious elite or 1% getting its hands on the iconic companies comprising CL Financial Group. The minister is quoted as saying the application that the government made did not involve any sort of irrational disposal of any assets of CL Financial. Instead, if the provisional liquidators wish to dispose of, sell or transfer the assets of CL Financial in any way, they can only do so with the approval of the court. Further news now, approximately $20 million in fully grown marijuana trees and seedlings have been destroyed by the police. In a statement, the police said at around 3 p.m. on Wednesday, officers of the Central Division Task Force were conducting an eradication exercise in a forested area in Flanagan Town when they went 5 miles into a forested area and discovered 8 marijuana fields with approximately 20,000 fully grown marijuana trees and 7,000 seedlings. The trees and seedlings were uprooted and destroyed. No one was arrested. The shooting death of alleged unruly ISIS member Jelani Martins is being investigated. Martins was killed last Friday outside a popular car dealership compound in Shogunas. Reports of who is responsible for his death have varied. Islamic Front leader Umar Abdullah called for an investigation into this killing, and last evening, Acting Police Commissioner Stephen Williams confirmed an investigation is underway.
The death of any human being is not a success, and the police service does not celebrate on the death of any human being. That matter is under investigation at this point in time. There has been issues raised by persons out in the public domain. It's a matter which we have already referred to the Police Complaints Authority for their consideration, and at this point in time we have assigned a First Division officer to conduct the investigation, and we do in fact hope that the investigation could be completed within the shortest period of time.
This is the CNews Live report at noon. Remember, you can keep up to date with all the latest news on our website at ctvtt.com, or you can check out our Facebook and Twitter pages at CNews Live. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley says work is being done to build a Prime Minister's house in Tobago. He says at this time accommodation for the Prime Minister is scarce. He explains that such residence did exist on the island and was actually restored by the Patrick Manning government.
Prime Minister's house in Tobago at Blenheim. Under Prime Minister Patrick Manning, that house was renovated and it was refitted. It's overlooking the sea, and Tobago has a sea blast problem. So it was outfitted during the Manning tenure, and they put in new fridge and new stove and whatever. It was an old villa, a lot of wood, old-time construction. Under the last government, they left it completely unattended.
He said termites have since completely destroyed its integrity, but he noted this structure is an essential matter in order to keep the idea of unity between the two islands, and not at an exorbitant cost.
I have not been able to hold a single function in Tobago to allow the people of Tobago to feel a part of this nation of Trinidad and Tobago, because there's no venue and we don't have any money to go and pay no hotel in Tobago to hold fete in Tobago. That is a thing of the past. But what I've done, we pulled down the old house and we budgeted for the building of our Prime Minister's residence in Tobago.
Dr. Rowley made it clear, however, that it should not be labeled Rowley's house. He said this is a legacy for any Prime Minister who governs our twin island state. While the restoration work on Stollmeyer's Castle has been completed, this from Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley as he spoke at the opening of a new community centre in Mount Hope on Wednesday.
We met work fairly advanced on one of them, and I can report to you today that the work on the restoration of Stollmeyer Castle is complete.
Dr. Rowley also said he will not allow the decimation of the Magnificent Seven.
A people that does not appreciate its heritage is a people that is not worthy of national independence. And what is worse, on more than one occasion, we made attempts to preserve those buildings. We spent money, more money, some money and more money, but the end result is that the buildings are crying out for attention.
The next project to be tackled is Whitehall. While the People's National Movement councillors at the Superior Regional Corporation walked out of a motion of no confidence debate against the corporate secretary, the motion was being debated and was brought by UNC councillors. They claim corporate secretary Natasha Cummings has not been performing up to standard and is showing favoritism to members of the PNM.
The motion, Dudat Meru claimed that the corporate secretary, someone who is supposed to be unbiased and provide advice to both sides, has been having secret meetings with members of the PNM, and over the past months, complaints have been made against her.
She is trying to take control of the entire Superior Regional Corporation. I know there are instances. They could laugh on that side because they know where they sit, Mr. Chairman, because it is politically viable for them. You understand, Mr. Chairman? It is my understanding that they met in a caucus downstairs until 8 o'clock on a particular evening when the notice of motion of no confidence was given against the chairman of this council, Mr. Chairman.
However, the PNM members described the motion as a motionless motion, saying it had no basis. As a result, they walked out.
And therefore, I trust 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 plus 3 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 plus all. You can take all and vote for the motion because we're out of here. Let's go, friends.
Chairman, don't put this motion to the vote. This
nope.
This is nonsense.
Nope.
Closing contribution. Mr. Chairman.
Escort them out, officers.
Mr. Chairman, I am amazed that they on that side stood up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Continue.
They stood up here and defended this lady and didn't see one thing wrong they do because she's politically aligned to the PNM. She's politically aligned to the PNM. That is why they're running out. That is why they're running out. She has aligned to the PNM. All you know that.
We have a corruption.
All you see one thing wrong she do. You understand? She's aligned to the PNM. That is what we are saying here. All you fail to stand up and bring the debate to a conclusion. Run, but you can't hide. Run, but you can't hide. You run, but you cannot hide. Mr. Chairman, I have information. Wait, we're not putting it to a vote. I have information where Maurice Alexander said that the corporate sec was absent on that day. Mr. Chairman, the records at the gate of this entrance tells me that the corporate sec, Councillor Arlene Ramdale and Councillor Christine Neptune, came into the corporation, held a meeting. The meeting was completed at 8 p.m. and the records at the gate will tell you that those 3 persons were in caucus downstairs.
They said they will not allow the name of a young person to be tarnished.
When you look at it, obviously we couldn't support a motion like that, because at the end of the day, if this motion carry, it will put at least going forward as a young person in the field, employment, you know, in the future, there's serious disadvantages. So we couldn't sit there today and support that. So once we walk out, we have no quorum, so the meeting just can't continue.
A vote on the motion was not taken. Rishi Harinanan, CNews.
There will be a water disruption on Friday, 28th, 2017, between the hours of 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. for people served by the Tyrico water treatment plant. Now, WASA says this has become necessary in order to facilitate the relocation of pipeline infrastructure as part of the Maracas Bay Beach Facility Improvement Project. The areas affected include North Coast Road, including the Maracas Beach Facility and Maracas Hotel, Maracas Old Bay Road, Maracas Fishing Village, and Grand Fond Road. Further news now. The Northwest Regional Health Authority says the Pitti Valley and George Street Health Centers will be closed at 1 p.m. on Friday, 28th July 2017 until 8 a.m. on Monday, 31st July 2017. It said this is to facilitate spraying of the facility by the Insect Vector Control Division. The NWRHA said as a result, there will be no extended hours services at the Pitti Valley Health Center on both Friday 28th and Saturday 29th July 2017. Persons can continue to access care at the Diego Martin and Maraval Health Centers and the St. James District Health Facility during this period. Full services at the Pitti Valley and George Street Health Centers will resume at 8 a.m. on Monday, 31st July 2017. To the news now, former radio producer at NBS Radio 610, Dennis McComey, believes the history of the July 27, 1990 coup is being rewritten by some who want to dismiss it as it never happened. And this is something he says must not be allowed to happen.
Things were not resolved. A lot of people were not acknowledged. A lot of the victims were not supported. And the history is in jeopardy of being rewritten by people who would much prefer to dismiss the whole thing altogether. This is very, very troubling for history and heritage of Trinidad and Tobago.
Mr. McComey said many of the issues are still unresolved and government should see the situation as a national experience and designate July 27th a National Day of Prayer and Remembrance.
It would go far to not only honoring those that were killed as a result of the attempted coup d'etat, but it would also give us time to reflect on the heroism on the part of many, many ordinary citizens and members of the media. And thirdly, it would lead to help healing and resolution if we accurately recorded what happened.
The International Women's Resource Network is appealing to victims of domestic abuse to not only report their situation to the police, but to also reach out for help. The organization says too often after fatality strikes, revelations are made by relatives and neighbors of the victims that they have been suffering from years of abuse. This call comes in light of the latest incident involving the murder-suicide of Romelda and Hilton King. IWRN said from its data, 8 out of 10 couples prefer to stay in an abusive relationship because they are afraid of being jeered at and scorned by both family members, friends, and neighbors. However, it said this approach is indeed unfortunate, as issues in relationships come from different places and different sources, and the best thing to do is for both parties to identify and acknowledge the source of the problems and get help. The high cost of infrastructural projects and an unscrupulous contractor were two stumbling blocks in the building of the highway to Penal. Besides this, the project was so large that local contractors could not bid for it. The Prime Minister, however, says that the Cabinet has now split the project into two parts and is offering sections to different contractors.
By breaking it up into sections, we have been able to allow local contractors to participate in the construction of that highway. To date, we have awarded 3 sections of that highway, 2 road sections and one bridge section, again being paid for by the money that we recovered from the bonds.
He says there are 4 more sections which were approved last week and 7 more to come. Local contractors can now and have been bidding for the work, and he says that matters are moving apace.
The 7 that we have approved, the 3 that has been awarded already, and the 4 approved for award, they will use up the money that we have recovered. And as we continue with the project, we will now have to find additional monies to pay the additional contractors to complete that project.
Dr. Rowley says when these are completed, more financing will be sought to get the highway completely finished. The San Juan Market will be closed on Sunday evening to facilitate a sanitation exercise. The chairman of the San Juan Laventille Regional Corporation, Anthony Roberts, says the closure of the market is a necessary exercise and it will not affect business.
We will have to close it. On this occasion, we're closing it on Sunday evening. All right, Sunday the 6th to Tuesday the 8th. And that is for the purpose, and you know the time that we choose. Sunday evening after the sales in the market, and Monday is usually a dead day in the market.
He also responded to concerns brought to our newsroom about one of the entrances being closed. The vendors complained that the closure of the gates is affecting their business.
Well, the marketplace is where you buy and sell commodities. But certainly one of the commodities that you find in the society, illegal drugs, will not be tolerated in the market.
Coming up in sport, TNT go down to Ecuador in football friendly. While Trinidad and Tobago's men's football team did the exact opposite of what coach Dennis Lawrence's plans were, to score more goals than Ecuador. TNT even gave away a penalty. The senior men conceded goals on either side of the half as they went down 3-1 to the hosts. Wednesday marked the first official day of the 3-week exhibit commemorating the interesting journey of a national hero, Aisley Crawford. The man himself was on hand to meet and greet his many fans, old and young, and took time to show a lighter side of himself, one far removed from the aggressive and supremely focused athlete many saw for so many years on the track. Now 41 years since Aisley's majestic 100-meter run and triumph in securing this country's first Olympic gold medal, UE and NGC mounted this exhibition, which shows off his gold medal and several other artifacts about his interesting journey from regular schoolboy in San Fernando to Olympic champion. He also had some very powerful words for the youngsters from the Maracas Valley Community Soccer Camp, who were among the many visitors to the opening day of the exhibit.
You're going to find that. What I did, I look at my mother. Every day, one pants, one shirt, iron it, washing it. And I said, no, I must bring her back. That drove me.
Many of those present seem genuinely interested in knowing more about Crawford's early years, his athletic career, his work with NGC, and his community outreach initiatives. Memorabilia and artwork from Crawford's personal collection are also on display. One youngster even stumped the great man as he engaged them in open dialogue. Well, that's it for sport. And that's how we end our CNews report at noon. I'm Karen Kosier-Phillip. Remember, for up-to-date and breaking news throughout the day, you can visit the CNews website at ctvtt.com. Do have a good afternoon.